and welcome to Mondays with Maria Gould. Today is May the 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo and episode 18. This is an extension of last week's podcast, and it is called Clearing Out Negative Thinking, Part 2. Now, last week we spoke about how different microbes, such as parasites, can influence our thoughts and give us negative thoughts. When I learned this knowledge through theta healing, it really changed my life. Learning that microbes really do make our thoughts more negative. As I was diagnosed with bipolar and depression, having suicidal thoughts, as I share my subject today, you will see how much and which microbes I might have had in my body that gave me these thoughts and these feelings, and I will talk about it in this podcast. But let's jump in. So the first subject I would like to talk about is heavy metals. Now, heavy metals are things like aluminum, mercury, lead, cadmium. These are heavy metals that should not be in our body in high amounts at all. Heavy metals give us the consciousness of low self-esteem. And just for example, mercury itself is known to cause extreme depression, suicidal thoughts. Lead can cause low IQ. They're even seeing fluoride, which is added to drinking water in many cities, can lower the IQ of children. That was won in a U.S. court case, and now the U.S. is starting to ban fluoride in their water. What if our mental health experts could learn that heavy metals are a huge contributing factor to people's mental well-being? If they are loaded with heavy metals, they will have depression, they will have mental fog, they will have suicidal thoughts. So just another perspective to help you live your best life. Now, where do we get some of these heavy metals? Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, but just some ideas. Aluminum is a very, very common heavy metal that should not be in our body. And this can, in my opinion, comes from all of the aluminum cans we drink out of. Whether it is pop or juice, beer, all of that is sitting in a hot warehouse somewhere. And that aluminum leaches into anything that is acidic and binds with the molecules. So when you drink out of an aluminum can, you are literally drinking aluminum particulates. And aluminum has been, in some studies, said to be linked very closely and have a correlation with dementia and other mental health issues. So might want to be aware of that and buy in glass containers would be easier and safer on your body. Aluminum can also be found in cookware. I know that back in the day my mom used aluminum to cook with. So remember that when you swap out your cookware, and again, I wrote that in my newsletter in previous articles, what to swap it out with, you want to get rid of the aluminum. You want to get rid of the Teflon. Teflon pans are awful for putting chemicals, petrochemicals, into your body, which block hormones and cause hormonal disruptions, which thus can add to mental health issues, right? Hormones are a huge part of our emotional state, and if those are out of balance, we are out of balance. So make sure you are cooking on cookware that is stainless steel. I do use as well enamel covered cast iron, but make sure that you are using the proper cookware and cooking appropriately so that you're not adding more toxins into your food. Mercury can come from old fillings in our teeth. And if you do have old silver or metallic fillings, that is something to go and do your research on. That metal, that mercury, is leaching into your body every time you bite. So it gases off and puts particulates into you throughout your entire body. There are specialized dentists that do know how to safely remove this toxin from your mouth. Please do it in a safe way because it is very, very toxic for you. Mercury is the main one that has been linked to depression, suicidal thoughts, lots of other issues. We see Mercury with theta healing very, very closely linked to even Vienna's story of lymphatic cancer. So not something you want in your body. Also, the old inoculations, the old vaccines used to have mercury in them. So why our societies thought it was okay to put these very toxic substances into our water, what we cook with, into our vaccines, I will never understand, but I'm hoping that the consciousness of humanity is waking up and learning that these things should not be in our bodies. In my opinion, because I've seen it in my own healing and doing healings on other people, metals can be passed down in the DNA. So I know when I've done work on myself, I used to have very, very low self-esteem. I would have never even considered doing something like this, doing a podcast or presenting or teaching as I do today. But that low self-worth was really related to passing down the heavy metals into my DNA. When I was witnessing Creator of All That Is do healings on my depression, I was shown almost like armor around my DNA. And I asked the Creator, what is this? And I was shown generationally, and a huge reason my grandmother and my mother had depression was they had mercury poisoning. So no wonder they had depression. No wonder they had suicidal thoughts. And this is built into the DNA and passed down. So with my healing, and which finally totally lifted me out of, having that low self-worth, feeling worthless energy, was to witness Creator releasing that armor and my DNA being made out of those heavy metals. And I did go through a detox that, thank goodness, with theta healing, I knew how to pull those heavy metals out of my body as my cells and DNA released that. It was life-changing. That healing completely transformed me from feeling worthless and like nothing to finally seeing light at the end of the tunnel and seeing myself in a new way, the way that Creator had made me to be, not depressed, not suicidal. So it was truly a miracle. So how do we get rid of heavy metals? Now, actually, this is truthfully, as long as you can cut out putting them into your body, right? Getting rid of the aluminum cans, the aluminum cookware, watching out for different metals in your body. Medications can have a lot of heavy metals in them as well. So kind of ask your pharmacist what's in there, that kind of thing. So an everyday awareness of this to clean this out of your body is a really important idea. One of the best things, and if you are on my newsletter, which you can subscribe to through my website at mariagould.com, just in the top right-hand corner, you subscribe to my email list and you get a newsletter every week with little articles. And this week's article is I share my homemade salsa on there, and I use cilantro in that. Cilantro is one of the most profound heavy metal detox herbs. Literally a tablespoon to 2 a day can pull out heavy metals out of your body tremendously. So I hope you like cilantro. Start eating it. Another thing that you can do is to make sure you're getting a good calcium, magnesium supplement. This binds to heavy metals, pulls heavy metals out of your body. You also can do ALA, alpha lipoic acid. You can also do omega-3, selenium. These are just suggestions that I use. I am not giving you medical advice. I do not have training for that. These are just things that I do for my body to release heavy metals out of my body. Okay, so let's talk about bacteria. Now, there are good bacteria which live in your gut that aid your digestion. And there's bacteria that shouldn't be in there, but we actually always have this bad bacteria in our body usually. It is just kept in control by our immune system and doesn't grow out of control. We all have Streptococcus bacterium. This is what gives us strep throat. But it is when our body becomes depleted and low in energy, and it has too many other toxins in it that actually will cause that Streptococcus bacterium to overgrow, and then therefore we get strep throat. So when the body has an overgrowth of bacteria, we want to look at emotions around guilt and shame. These usually feed the bacterium, and the bacterium give that consciousness of feeling shame and feeling guilt. Okay, so you want to look at those beliefs. How do you help yourself if you have an overgrowth of bacteria? Well, definitely talk to your doctor. We're not against doctors, but they can test for what type of bacterium is out of control in you and doing antibiotics or something to help you get rid of that. The thing is, after antibiotics, you do want to build up the good bacteria again. Remember, antibiotics are going to kill a lot of the good bacteria as well. So you want to put healthy bacteria back into the system. Yogurts, kefir, sauerkraut, apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. That's that cloudy stuff at the bottom at a health food store. You can also do oregano oil, but this is to get rid of the bacterium. And then after you've gotten rid of the excess bacterium, then you rebuild with the yogurt, the kefir, the sauerkraut, all of those good probiotic type of foods. You can also talk to your health food store specialist, and I'm sure they can offer a suggestion as well there too. So viruses, the last 5 years, we've definitely had a lot of awareness of viruses. Viruses will come and interject into your life when you are working on issues of worthiness. So if you're feeling unworthy and low energy, this is when you can be more susceptible to a virus. So making sure that, again, you are looking at the whole picture of your body. When we have heavy metals, this will lower our frequency a lot. And by the way, if you have heavy metals in you, I want you to think of yourself like an antenna for negative thinking. Your brain will pick up negative, anxious thoughts easier. Heavy metals are literally like little antennas that tap into negative thoughts And you think those thoughts are yours. They're not. Those are the heavy metals that are picking up negative thoughts. So we do not want heavy metals in our body. Really important to do those daily things to help release and reduce your toxic heavy metal load. If you have a lot of heavy metals, that makes you more susceptible to a bacterium overgrowth, to getting a virus, to even fungus infections. So fungus has a lot to do with resentments. Thinking of even athlete's foot. When I work with people with athlete's foot, a lot of times the creator will show me they are standing in resentments. What does that mean? Well, literally they have held on to resentments a long time and they feel like they can't move. Maybe they have a deep resentment at their partner or somebody they're living with, but they can't let it go. So when you shift that energy, when you shift that belief, their athlete's foot can clear up. Okay, so deep resentments. What if you have too much candida? Candida is yeast. Now, our bodies do need yeast to kind of help aid digestion. It again is when we have an overgrowth or too much of, that it becomes symptomatic. So what emotion goes with candida overgrowth? Procrastination. Procrastination is the robber of dreams, but it is also your sweet tooth causing you to have too much candida in your body. So looking at resentments, what energy are you hanging on to? What energy of hatred or old grudges would you be willing to let go of to feel better? Now, in Theta Healing, we do an amazing couple of classes. One is called Intuitive Anatomy, and that's where a lot of this knowledge is shared in more detail. And you learn what the systems of the body hold for beliefs. And when you clear the beliefs held in the systems and clear the beliefs that hold microbes in your body starts to open up and be the most amazing, miraculous organism because it sings. It literally starts to sing with health. Just by belief work, just by clearing old resentments, old hatreds, low self-worth, guilt, shame, worthiness issues. All of these beliefs are tied with the microbes I've been talking about. Just like last week in part 1 where I focused on the microbe parasites, this is all about being sucked dry, feeling like you're overgiving, people are using you, walking all over you. So if you feel those feelings, you might want to go and find the previous episode of my podcast, episode 17, for part 1 for parasites. Okay, and when you start to shift the beliefs, your body will naturally let go of the microbes. It naturally doesn't need them anymore. See, there's a symbiotic relationship with the emotions and the microbe. Same with a disease. If we have beliefs that actually hold diseases in our body, and when you shift the beliefs, the body can heal. So it is quite miraculous work. Now, with all of these different microbes, it is really important to eat well, right? Make sure you're washing your organic produce. Washing it in just a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of baking soda in the sink can actually help take off pesticides and things like that. Also, fresh Lemon juice is also very powerful. Watch what types of vegetables you put in that. Okay, but this is for your apples and things like that. You can use lemon juice and rub off the wax and things like that. And super, super great to get pesticides off the outsides of your fruits and vegetables. So again, none of this is medical advice. This is just the tricks of the trade I have learned over the years. And always rebuild. So if you're doing any cleanses, you want to do the cleanse, which might take a month to 6 weeks, depending what type of cleanse you're doing. But then you want a rest period. And in that rest period, you're going to eat well. You're going to feed your body well. You're going to rest. And you should be resting when you're detoxing as well. Okay, listen to your body. Detoxing is hard work. We have a miraculous body that is naturally detoxifying all of the time. But it's really being aware of how we overload our system with toxins, right? You probably didn't even think that those aluminum cans would be leaching so much aluminum into your body, okay? And remember, the biggest, your digestive system is set up to really excrete the majority of toxins you ingest. It really is. It's miraculous. But if your body is low energy because you have too many heavy metals, too many parasites, you're adding too many toxins to it, you're breaking through the skin and doing injections of toxins into you, then this isn't able to protect you. Your gut that is set up to release those toxins, it isn't able to help you if it's injected. So there are lots of different toxins that are in vaccines that you might want to be aware of. One of the best sources I have found for any education around that is over at ICanDecide.com. Okay, just so you know. Always rebuild. So after you've done your cleanse, rebuild your body. You're going to do good, healthy probiotics, prebiotics. So these are whole grains. These are maybe a little bit of sourdough bread, not a lot, right? You've just let go of a lot of the microbes, so you just put a little bit back in, okay? And you want to have a good maybe kefir. I prefer kefir over yogurt. I find that it actually kind of sets up the microbiome in the gut a lot better than just yogurt. But if you can't do dairy, there's sauerkraut, and finding a good sauerkraut is amazing. Apple cider vinegar, kombucha. There are lots of different ways nowadays to get that healthy gut flora back. And if you do have a health expert like a naturopath, I'm sure that they can test for what types of microbes you need to replace in your body. And that is a great thing to do because it can help with a lot of symptoms that you aren't sure how to help treat. And it might be just your microbiome is lacking one or two of the microbes that you need, and your naturopath can either supplement that or tell you how to get those microbes back into your diet. All right, so just to recap, as I was sharing, these microbes, like heavy metals, are a huge red flag when people have mental health issues. If they're struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts, I usually see a lot of heavy metals in them. Okay, people that have a lot of anxiety, that have a lot of what is labeled intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are that concept that your heavy metals are picking up negative thoughts like an antenna. So when you understand how the body works and that there's more to the body than it just being this machine that has parts that surgeons replace, and it's this innate intelligence that lives and in symbiosis with the environment that you live in, you understand from a broader picture what is causing you to feel the way you feel. So things like bacterium will give you the guilt and the shame. Viruses can cause worthiness issues. Fungus and candida will be resentments and procrastination. So see how much your body is always talking to you, just with your thoughts. But we don't know how to listen because we haven't been taught this information. What would the world be like if people knew this education and they could start to be aware and change how they ingest food and how healthy they live, and they could really start to shift their mental health like I did? Remember, I used to be bipolar, and I no longer am because I cleaned out those heavy metals. I've cleaned out the beliefs. I've done a lot of healing and belief work to get back to my truth. As Creator told me when I was first diagnosed bipolar, this loving, gentle voice said to me, "You are not made this way." And I knew right there that I could figure out how to not feel that way. When the people diagnosing the bipolar were actually saying I would have to learn to live with it, my heart and Creator were telling me that I wasn't made this way. I can learn a different way to be. And I have. I don't take any medication, and I am healthy and happy, and I have positive thoughts, positive self-worth. How miraculous is that? So I hope today's topic was interesting to you. If you have any questions, you can always reach out through my website at mariagould.com and email contact@mariagould.com. I would love to chat with you if you have questions. Now again, please remember, this is just what I do to clean my body. This is not nutritional advice. This isn't herbology advice. It is only what I do to help my body be healthy and well. Okay, so wishing you a happy Mexican Independence Day, Cinco de Mayo. If you're on my email list, you get that salsa recipe, which is super yummy, super healthy. I eat it all the time because of the cilantro. It pulls those heavy metals out all the time. So wishing you a beautiful, beautiful May the 5th, and blessings. Thanks for listening.